An hour before the wedding, when all the family is there for the ceremony and the bride and the groom are there to get ready, the pastor basically tells the bride, like, oh, you're wearing that? In Florida recently, there was a man who was supposed to die. Lethal injection, he was going to be executed, he was on death row for killing people. And the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, decided to postpone his execution. And you would think, oh man, if they're postponing his execution, there must be something horrible going on. And she had to ask Governor Rick Scott if he would allow this execution to be postponed. And usually when, someone like that just asks him for a stay of execution, he'll do it. So he allowed it to be postponed for like 3 weeks. And then we found out the reason that Pam Bondi postponed this execution. She had a re-election campaign kickoff party the night that he was supposed to die. It's just amazing how she could just play with someone's life. Besides the fact that this guy was a killer and he deserves to be punished for it, I don't know that the death penalty is the right way to handle that, but the fact that she's just like, oh, he's about to die? Well, I have a party to go to. Let's just move it 3 weeks in the future. That's just appalling to me. There is this war memorial in Coos Bay, Oregon. It's a Vietnam war memorial, kind of remembering the veterans, and it has a big cross right on top of the memorial. And back in August, there was a small explosion near it, which is really scary. Thankfully, no one was hurt. But the question is, who would have done such a thing? And as soon as that explosion went off, members of the religious right, like some prominent religious right leaders, they were quick to accuse the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And they said, oh, it must have been these atheists who, if they didn't do it themselves, it was their rhetoric and their words that urged other people to do it, which is crazy. When you think about militant people who do things on account of their religious beliefs, you think about, terrorists. You think about people bombing abortion clinics. Usually, atheists can claim higher ground on this because there really isn't such a thing as militant atheism. But this is an example of it if it existed. Again, we don't know who this is. We don't know if they're really atheists. For all we know, they are people pretending to be atheists just to make us look bad. But whatever it is, it's crazy. It needs to stop. I don't know if they're watching this, but stop. What are you doing? Like, it's stupid. It doesn't achieve anything, and it just hurts us in the long run. You're giving the other side ammo to use back against us. If I say the Texas State Board of Education, that's basically a punchline to whatever joke you want. So recently they were going through an update. You have to have a panel of people review biology textbooks and other science textbooks to see if they are fit for the state's curriculum. And what happened is that the National Center for Science Education and a Texas education group, a separate one, they asked for public documents, public records on what the reviewers were saying about some of these science books. And it turned out when you read through their issues, the issues these reviewers wrote up about the textbooks, their issues included things like, this textbook teaches evolution. There's no evidence for that. We ought to teach about creationism. Climate change isn't real. It's not happening. It's all like a liberal hoax. I mean, it's stuff like that. As a teacher myself, I don't teach science, but as a teacher myself, the last thing I want is for my curriculum to be dictated by people who don't know what's happening in the field. This couple was about to be married. They wanted to hold their wedding at a church, and they hired this pastor to do the ceremony for them. And like an hour before the wedding, when all the family is there for the ceremony and the bride and the groom are there to get ready, the pastor basically tells the bride, like, oh, you're wearing that? That's a very revealing, a bridal gown. I can't perform this wedding if you're gonna wear that. He refused to perform the wedding because the bride's outfit was too revealing for him. And again, it may be a revealing dress, it's certainly a provocative dress, but the question that comes to my mind is, why would you say that to someone and refuse to do their wedding that close to the ceremony? I'm kind of upset at this pastor for making this decision at the last minute, and he kind of ruined their wedding day. And that bothers me. But at the same time, I don't think the couple bears no responsibility over this. I mean, if you're gonna ask a pastor to perform the ceremony for you, you kind of got to do what he says, and you got to abide by his rules. Otherwise, do something. Why couldn't you get a humanist celebrant to do the ceremony? Why couldn't you get a friend to get, you know, a temporary license to perform the ceremony? I don't know why they were so eager to have a pastor do it, one who doesn't know them and they weren't even a part of his church. As an atheist blogger myself, the worst hate mail I tend to get is just people preaching to me, you know, maybe telling me I'm going to hell, but even that doesn't happen that often. But if you're an atheist blogger and you're in a country like Bangladesh, now your life is in danger when you're writing about why Islam is wrong or why, you know, God may not exist. And in fact, there was a group of 4 men who were blogging independently, I believe, but they were blogging in the country. And not only were they arrested for their blogging months ago, at least one of them was nearly stabbed to death. I mean, he was close to being assassinated for his beliefs, but he found a way to make it through. But that's what they have to face. And this past week, they just got indicted by a court. And this means that they could end up going to jail for over a decade and pay a fine that's very heavy on top of that. All because they're, you know, blaspheming. They're offending people's religious sensibilities. And that's a crime punishable by a jail sentence or a big fine in that country. If anything, I hope people stay on top of this story. I hope people are made aware of what's going on. There's a link below if you want to learn more about what's going on. But just know what's happening and speak out about it if you can, because it's awful. And hopefully these guys will eventually go free and not have to worry about their safety just because of what they believe. My name is Hemant Mehta and I write at friendlyatheist.com. We'd love to hear from you, so please leave your questions and comments below.